All right, the clock is running. We are going to begin. So, the foundation of the price determination process in our world and in Europe and most of the Western world, what determines prices is supply and demand, right? So these two forces. And we're going to start with demand because I think demand's the easiest. And one of the first questions we're going to answer here is, how does demand relate to quantity demanded and price? Price and quantity demanded. I'm going to say quantity demanded a bunch of times because that's the term we use for quantity demanded. So how do they relate? So that's why I use this. So Gabby, what is this thing called? There's a couple names for them.
Seesaw.
Seesaw, right? One side goes up, the other side goes down. So it always has this inverse relationship, up and down. These are nice big ones that can cause death. Love these. I don't see a whole lot of them on playgrounds. There's this little spring now, but these were the ones you could like launch people from, right? So this is an inverse relationship. That's what I'm asking here. It's an inverse relationship. So you guys have a question there, right? It says like, how does this illustrate an inverse relationship? Well, you would just write something like, one side goes up. Excellent, Sam, excellent. I'll give you a star. I feel like I'm being observed right now. But I am. I'm being observed by this little thing over there, recording me.
Why are you recording?
I told you I'm going to show this to my period 4 class, who are doing study hall, so they're missing this. They're missing this, right? So here's the law of demand. As price increases, quantity demanded decreases. As price decreases, quantity demanded increases. It's like this. There's always this inverse relationship on the demand side. So the law of demand is this guy right here that says consumers, that's us, buy more of a good when its price decreases and less when its price increases. So we have this increase, decrease, more, less. It's, what day is today? Today's Wednesday. So yesterday was Taco Tuesday around the United States and the world, right? So on Tuesdays, sellers, to attract business on a slow part of the week, have Taco Tuesday. So tacos are less. And what do? People who react predictably to incentives is they buy more of a good at a lower price. There's my illustration for people will buy more of a good at a lower price and less of a good at a higher price. That's the law of demand. It's really a combination of these two factors right here that are behaviors. So, was that a question, Daniel? I don't know. Do you see the question? I don't see the question.
Yeah.
But those answers are perfect. So I'm totally fine with those. So these two guys we have here, income effect and substitute effect, are also, this is easy stuff. You know, if the price of something is too high, look for an alternative, right? If the price of chicken goes up, is there a substitute for chicken for dinner that's an animal?
Beef.
Duck? That's a good one. Ostrich? Goose? We're running through all the birds that we eat. Dove, quail, partridge,
Gross.
peacock. What, do people eat peacocks?
I went to Cancun this one time and they accidentally served me quail. I didn't know. I thought it was chicken.
Just a little skinny ass chicken.
Yeah.
Do we have to start over again? Because I said a curse. Apologize. Now the income effect is also one of those no-brainers. Like when people have more money, their demand changes. When they have less money, their demand changes, right? So these two behaviors we see really underline this law of demand. Down here. Gas prices increase, but your demand for gas stays the same. What do you do? Still got to get to work. Still got to make those deliveries. So the price increases for gas, but your demand for gas stays the same. What do you do? So I don't know. It's completely up to you. Do you buy less or do you buy more? That's on you. I'm waiting for responses. Buy less, buy the same, buy more. It's either going to increase, decrease, or stay the same. It kind of depends on you. You know, is there some way you could get to school without being driven in a car? I can't do skateboarding. You're skateboarding. And there's pedaling a bicycle. Okay, so there are alternatives. We're going to talk a lot about those with demand. I was like, is there something else? And like with gasoline, and my car, it only runs on gas. I can't put like garbage in it like on Back to the Future 2. You get a raise at work. What do you think will happen to your demand for goods and services? Increase, decrease, or stay the same? That's for you. People react predictably to incentives, so I think that when people get increases in income, they spend more. And when they get decreases in income, how can they spend more? Well, they can go into debt. But if you have a decrease in income, maybe you need to change some of your behaviors. So maybe you don't have the premium package on your DirecTV, or you start making coffee in a Keurig in the back of your classroom instead of going to Starbucks. They call it tightening your belt, you know. Now for the really exciting stuff. This is a demand schedule. They're both individual and market. And these schedules actually illustrate this law of demand, that people demand less of a good at a higher price and more of a good at a lower price. So this is slices of pizza, this is individual, this is market. So I asked a question here, I can't even read it, but you have one. How many slices to individuals demand at $1, and at what price does the market demand 100 slices per day? So you'll just type those in using this data here. How many slices at $1? So, and how many slices does the market demand at 100 slices per day? So you have those two numbers to put in. People react predictably to incentives. So I'm looking right now that people chose during testing to enjoy a strawberry flavored Starburst or a cherry flavored Starburst, because guess what's left in the bag, folks? 2 lemons and 3 oranges. That's predictable, right? Because people tend to like those flavors more. So if you're wondering what the answers are, the first one, individuals at $1 is 4. Everybody nod, 4. Individual 4. Market asks for, what price does 100 slices demand? That's $2.50. So that's, now I gotta tell you a little story about what grade it was. I had a math teacher, she was horrible, and she didn't like me. And I gave her a good reason not to like me, but I was young and immature, and she wasn't a very effective teacher. But she would say this thing, every time we had anything that was in a chart, she'd say, "Class, I smell a graph." That's all I remember from her class, besides her shrieking voice and yelling at me and sending me to the office, which I never went to the office. I would just hang out in the hallway until the bell rang. I'd go to class. Because there was no follow-up there. So we're going to graph these numbers. So you have this set of numbers, this set of numbers. One's going to be on the bottom, one's going to be on the side. And we call these demand curves. So it's a graphical representation of the schedule you just saw, the chart. And you got slices down on the bottom, that's the quantity demanded. And you have price over here from 0 to infinity. So as you can see here, as the price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. Those are demand curves. I know they don't look like the curve, but they always are like this, going from the lower right to the upper left, slanting upward or slanting downward. It all depends on how you look at it. But now I'm going to ask you a question. So I'm going to ask you to interpret this here. So how many donuts are demanded each day at points A, B, C, and D? And you guys are, well, I have one student who's in the center here, Jacob, but everybody else is off at an angle. So I'm going to use a meter stick, which is a metric yardstick that social studies teachers only use as pointers because we don't really measure anything. Oops. Well, that's not good. Okay, now. Jacob, what does that look like to you? How did I do that? I didn't even touch it. There.
20.
20, and then B,
40.
40, and C is 40 as well. And then D is,
60.
I think, 60. So 20, 40, 40, 60. You reading this. Now there are two curves there, so that's going to be a little confusing. I expect you guys to be confused today. I'll hammer it again tomorrow. When we do supply, it's a review of the same concepts. So the next question here asks, does movement from point A to point C on curve D1 show an increase in the demand for donuts? Now I can tell you this, it goes from 20 to 40. So you guys will write a one-word answer, right? Does it show an increase? You'll write yes. Or if you're on to me and you know this is a trick question, you'll write no. What do you think, Gabby? It's an increase. 40 is bigger than 20. All right, so here's where I ruin your day. The answer is no. It shows an increase in the quantity of donuts demanded, which was caused by a decrease in price from $2 to $1. All right, so now I have to start talking about, let's see, is it here? There's a difference. So here's, everybody look at me right now. People can grow in two ways. Well, three if you want to say emotionally, right? But we don't care about that right now. You can grow taller. Gabby, you're probably going to get a little taller. But you can also grow this way, which I hope you don't do, right? So there's two kinds of growth. There's height, growing like just natural development, and then there's growing, right? Expanding or contracting. So we have two kinds of increases with demand. We have the demand called a change in the quantity demanded.